blew out my car window.
Okay. Madam Secretary.
Thank you.
Thank you. Um, My name is Elizabeth Gonzalez-Pijo. I'm the landscape architect representing the clients, James and Kim Rady, the owners of 20 Strawberry Lane. We are submitting for a variance for coverage in which we are over the allowable coverage, which is 48, and we've got ourselves down to 46.72, and the existing coverage is 5.993, so we're under by 321. Since the last time we met, we have decided to remove the pool,
Right.
which has gotten us under the existing coverage.
Right. So, I've gone back and looked at your applications for 2015, and then the first application with the pool this year, and then the present application. And I appreciate you revising the charts and the...
I also took it upon myself to remove what was previously approved, because at this point, after our last discussion, you mentioned that it was almost null and void, so I didn't want to confuse things any longer and make it just a straightforward, this is what it was, this is what's proposed.
Yeah, it is null and void because it's been a year.
Right.
But you did take out the shed in the back,
That is
which is a condition to that approval, but that's a good step, so that's okay. Look, the way I see it, your existing property was 5,993 square feet of coverage, which was 23.6% over. And when you came in 2015, which did not void, you proposed, or your folks proposed to reduce that to 22.5% over, not a substantial reduction, but a reduction nonetheless. And then the original application this year sort of ignored the progress made in 2015 and added the pool. And we told you, and your people knew the numbers, that would take you from 23.6% over to 28.5% over, and we basically said that's too much. Mm-hmm. And so you went back, conferred with your folks, and the pool is now gone. So we have a reduction from your prior application, 559, and we also, if I'm looking at this right, your net reduction is 321, which is a reduction of 268 square feet in patios and walks, and 53 square feet in other. So you're down, as you mentioned before, by 321. Just for completeness sake, can you show us what you've done to the patios and walks and others so that you've achieved the changes in those categories?
Okay. Basically, this entire area is existing. It's easiest to see because both plans are on L1.1, and this is actually the demo plan too, which shows the exact amount of area that's being modified. But basically, this entire area is all paved, and what we're doing is giving a more decorative, symmetrical garden that has lawn panels in there, and reducing the impervious. One of the reasons why we're not reducing it by much, because we've added a path here so they can access their mudroom. Though currently it's just a slope, so this will give them nicer access to their mudroom while still reducing the overall patios and walks.
Okay, and that addition is in the numbers you submitted?
Yes,
okay.
it always has.
Yeah, okay.
But by these paths have become a little bit narrower while still, keeping the design intent and creating these really lovely lawn panels to soften the front courtyard and still keep it functional.
So that's not coverage because it's going to be grass or...
Right.
These
Inserts that are white are grass.
Okay, got it.
And we've also, this wall is being modified. It's just being pushed back and straightened. It needs to be rebuilt because it's starting to heave.
Now, the one thing you've done that is a negative is you've increased the size of the driveway and changed the shape of it. Now, that's not permitted under the code to be included in the coverage calculation. I recognize that, but it is going to add to the impervious surface. It'll add a runoff and all that sort of thing. Did the planning board give that okay? That okay to that?
They have approved the plans as far as that's concerned. Yes, they approved the drainage associated with that. So there will be drainage associated with that to make up for that increased impervious surface.
Where's that gonna be?
The drainage?
Yeah. And it's more their
It's
jurisdiction than
down,
ours.
it's down here.
Okay.
It's really the only place that it can go.
And that's a lower spot than the driveway, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the whole lot's very steep.
Yeah.
So it's coming down here. So there will be drain inlets within this space, within the driveway, and then will all be piped to a Coltech system in the
Okay.
lawn down here.
Okay. Good. Any questions or comments from my colleagues?
Nope.
Okay. I commend you and your clients for having gone back and taken seriously what we said about the increased coverage being a problem. It wouldn't have been a great pool anyway, but,
It would have been a lot.
yeah, and a lot of, just as much trouble to maintain.
It would have been interesting to get installed with the site, what that is.
Right, but now it's not as interesting because you don't have to do that. All right, as I say, I appreciate you reducing the coverage numbers as we suggested you might. And I move to have this revised set of plans and the related application approved. Do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor, vote select?
Yes.
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 Okay,
Very good.
get out of here before you have to come back again.
So I told Sarah that I would leave you guys the five copies here and one original, which is this. I'm just gonna fold it up and leave it with you too.
Okay.
She said she would pick it up. Okay.
Yeah, she did. She said if we leave her in the room, she'll pick it up.
Okay. Okay, great. So I'll do that thing.
Okay.
And this is another copy.
Okay.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Okay, that takes us to the Kearns application.
My name is Jamola from Jamola Associates, we represent Kearns. I don't know what close up to, I don't know how much it would need.
Oh, probably all of it.
The
more the better.
receipt center.
Yeah, you might as well put that too. You've got the next you're getting it, so why don't you get the envelope too? Thank you. Okay, now, you've got two variances that your plans involve. The one is your FAR, which is over now by 7.7%, would be increased because, although I think your drawing has already an enclosed sunroom, it's not enclosed yet, that's what you're gonna change.
The bottom is enclosed, there were sunglass, definitely screens in there when I measured it. There was a sunroom prior to that, and there was a glass roof, so like a solarium.
Oh, the roof, okay.
The
But the
roof,
sides are now screened, right?
it was screened, but there were signs that were glass, like almost like, stone windows and screens might have been replaced. I don't know. That was there, it was existing.
I don't mean to complicate this, you're taking the screened-in portion, you want to turn it into a glass enclosed roof. Okay. And that's why your FAR is increased by 255 square feet from 7.7 to 11.6% over what's permitted.
Yes, right.
Okay. And the other is, it says enlarge an existing patio, maybe just put it in, I'm not sure. There, you'd add 729 square feet. You're already over by 43%, and that would make you over by 58%. And in fairness, I just have to tell you at the outset, that's a really big number.
Okay.
You just heard my conversation with this young lady. They were over by 23%, they wanted to move it to 28, and we said no. And they came back and reduced it below the 23%, and we said yes. If we're saying no to that, it's just very difficult, in my view. I don't know about these guys. It's very difficult, in my view, to say yes to something that's 58% over.
I agree with that. If you're asking, maybe it's a
58?
question.
58.
That's what I thought it was as well. That's,
So that's your task.
Okay, well, we obviously filled this out. And if we look at that, and lot coverage, what was there originally was 7594, and we're at 6865 now. It was already over prior to the purchase of the property. And in my math, I'm an architect, not an engineer, it's the difference was like 759 square feet, which is plus or minus 10%, and that's in there, it was a bonus. So I'm not sure how that works. I'm not questioning your figures, but I'm questioning.
I really just took the numbers you had on your page.
Okay.
We never saw this page.
Okay, because that was submitted with all the information to the planning board.
Wasn't that part of what I got anyway? Did you guys get that?
No,
I did not.
no.
I assume
Yeah,
that,
we got very little, we got like one page.
We just got this,
Yeah, that's
this
all.
page.
okay,
I mean, it was pretty clear, especially after a visit and a nice chat with the owners, what they were doing. I mean, it's not very complicated, but if I can understand it, practically anybody can. But these numbers and so forth, if you're relying on something in here, we've never seen that.
I understand that. You know, we submitted that to the planning board, and I thought they gave a package on what they approved to your board.
No,
Not-
planning board is
Okay.
separate.
That's something that can be looked at. I mean, if you want, you know, if it can be reviewed tonight, I don't know that. I'm not putting that onus on you, but I was a little confused when I looked at that, and then there were some added bonuses. Again, we're over, I realize that, but percentage to us, it didn't seem like it was that much.
Well, the numbers we're looking at, as the chairman just said, you're going from like 43% over to 59%, 58% over. That is not de minimis. I mean, that's a big
No,
increase.
I understand that.
Okay.
I just, looking at that chart, when we looked at it, again, this is the first time we've been to Irvington, and first time having this chart, and I just, not questioning the board, but just want to know what we have to do, what we can do.
Well, okay. Let me do this. First of all, I mean, just at first glance, the coverage numbers you have for existing on this new document are 6865, and on this document that you submitted at 7,030. So they don't match.
Well, there was an existing and a proposed.
Well, the proposed is also off by 309 square feet. Between this number and the number you have on SY 101.
The existing here, it's not 68, 65, or we looking at
On this one,
Existing to proposed, right, went from 68, 65 to 75.
I'm sorry, you know what I was doing, I was reading the wrong line. You're absolutely right.
Okay.
No problem there. You're right. Thank you. All right, so we're back to the size. Back to the numbers.
Okay. The, I don't know what is, I know in terms of drainage, we may be able to do something. There was a stamped addition on the driveway. We had the photos of what you're looking at in terms of disturbance. Maybe we should just take two from the start. If you come into the driveway, your driveway is coming in off Mathizen. We were looking to add a stamped area here, which is, I believe, 700 and something square feet. As you go straight ahead, that's the nose of that car. Straight ahead, the access was, in terms of least intrusive, was going to be through here, through these gates. This would be plywooded, and as you went around, as you came out the back of the gate, there was a patio, again, plywood, and then you would hook around through this grass area, through here to the back. And in terms of what's going to be used, will be a small backhoe on tracks, which are rubber tracks, not a large machine. And the digging that has to be done is not, you know, a lot of movement of earth that we have to do. So it's, we factored that in terms of the ways to come in. No trees have to be taken down, and probably reseeding and fixing up the lawn if we disturb that. In terms of the views here, I thought it might help this time because we took some aerial photos In terms of what we had to do is we put the drip line in, we did all the items that the comments on, I guess it was August 18th, the comments from your board, from the landscape person, and we incorporate that in terms of, this is looking, from the street, from the main street is here. Am I pronouncing that right? It's
Matheson.
Matheson, yeah.
Matheson.
That was probably the planning board in August, right?
Was
Yeah,
that-
yes, must have been the planning board, yeah.
August, yes. And so this is looking north, and we have this looking south where the pool is, and then these east and west. So to try to get a better idea of the amount of green and lawn on the site. So hopefully you've been out to the site, so you've seen that.
Yep.
There is a paving that we could use instead of a Bowmanite on the concrete. Bowmanite is just a stamped concrete. To be colored, but the water runs off, and that would spread to the lawn. And then on the patio, it was bluestone, and we are thinking, I've used it in my own yard, encroaching in very small yards, but we go through similar drainage. We want to, inundate the city system. So the patio can be all the blocks and pavers, and they're all permeable. There's layers of drainage, and they actually have used it where they can store water under the patio and under the driveway, and people are using it to water a lawn. So in terms of not putting any, aggravation on the existing system, there are ways for us to mitigate, I believe, in a better way, anything that we're adding now. And the roof gutters, and same thing. That was part of, there was water coming off that area. So it's not like the second part of it, the second story part would be a deck for one of their daughters. So it's the same impervious, but it's
Yeah, that would be above the patio, is that?
the patio was, had a glass roof, that was shedding water already. So now it's just gonna be, we're gonna replace the glass with a patio, which would be wood and railing, maybe some PVC to match
Would
the
you
light
get-
in the house.
Could you just walk through the plans with me and show me what's new, what's existing, what you're changing?
The actual floor plan?
Yeah.
Well, this is,
Just really looking for what
here
you're,
in the site plan,
just what you're adding,
sure, site plan, we were adding approximately 256 square feet of stamped concrete pavement. So this was the driveway, the garage, this is a parking place for this park, the cars park, and this area here is that area of lawn where the blue garbage pail is here. So we were gonna put that, and there is a walk to the back. We're gonna add a paver here, and I have the catalog showing the type of pavers we can use. This is the gate where you walk through, and this patio is being added. There was some amount, there was to the back, but not a patio large. There was, I believe, a wall here. We extended this out, steps here and steps to the pool. This can be handled with, and you can see that in the photos here. This is the back of the sunroom here. And here you can see there were some steps and some paving blocks in here, flagstone mostly, but this area right behind here is where the deck would go, so this green would
You mean the
come out.
deck or the patio?
The patio, sorry.
Okay.
So you still step down out of the greenhouse, and that's depicted here. Step down at the sunroom, and you could step down out of the interior of the house here. And this is the part that was added, steps here. The rest is lawn. You can also do in a very permeable stone which can collect water, but this is raised up, can collect water underneath, store it underneath the patio, similar to the driveway. If need be, this could be handled without going to any street similar to this.
Adam, have you got that? You need that?
I'm good.
Okay. You know, a couple of thoughts. It's a very attractive house, very attractive piece of property. And we're not here to sit in judgment of the quality of your plans. But if I were, I'd say they were very attractive too. I just don't see how we can approve this, moving from 43 to 58% and turn down people who come to us on other applications. And we have consistently turned down folks who are 25% over or whatever when they don't have some sort of ameliorating condition. And, I mean, these folks are just left. We put them through 3 hearings because they were going to increase their percentage from, what I say, 23 to 27, something like that, over. And then they came back and reduced it below 23. I mean, it's not the quality of the house or the property, it's certainly not the people, but I just don't know how we say yes to this without throwing the code out.
I understand.
I feel like the Grinch at Christmas, but that's just, you know,
On Christmas.
it's even worse. Let me ask you this, because the pictures you showed do seem to have a lot of green on the property.
Yes.
Have you checked these coverage numbers? I mean, where'd you get the existing coverage numbers?
Well, we checked it on the same survey, so, I mean, I'd love to go through it, and if I find something that we made an error in, I would be the first one back here.
I'm trying to grasp at a straw here, I think, but it did strike me when I visited the property that there was a lot of green space.
Yeah, I was surprised at these numbers and how far.
It's already
it doesn't.
43.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't seem like it should be that far over.
I have the same reaction.
Yeah,
actually.
yeah.
Well, there were lots of, I mean, we had every pad we were told to do, I mean, there's every piece of concrete or something covered.
No, that's the rule, that's true.
Yeah.
I'd like to get a chance to check measurements, not that a computer could be wrong, but people
Oh, no,
looking
never.
in the information, which is me, could be wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really just, trying to give you some little window here because,
I appreciate it.
the numbers themselves are just, for me at least, they're daunting, and it sounds like it will be for other people as well.
Can I ask a question? I'm sorry.
Sure.
Where do the numbers come from? Because just, where do we get, is this all,
The survey is a computerized electronic survey, so when we used to draw by hand, you had to do it by hand. This is all calculated by making squares and circles and whatever. Whatever fits the lines you have, whatever hits the ground.
well, when the house was built, wouldn't they have had to get it approved and all of those numbers would have been input into the system somewhere?
Depends on when the house was built, and also the code gets updated from time to time.
There was a period we didn't even have a code.
Yeah,
Life was easy.
so this,
We missed that window.
Windows house.
But,
yeah.
maybe it's 1998,
Yeah, no, in 1988, it should have been.
so perhaps we
But
can,
the
maybe,
code may have been, but the code's been updated since then.
Yeah,
but the measurements would have been, the measurements are the measurements, right?
yeah, I mean,
Yeah, but certain things that used to not get counted against coverage are now, although I didn't notice,
there's not a lot of walls.
there's not a lot
in
of
this property.
walls.
That
which would
was
be
the primary
main-
change.
Yeah,
We have a lot
I
of
don't see anything
applicants.
on your site structures and impervious areas
Yeah.
that's not included, but although
Yeah.
We don't know the rules either, but it feels like we have a ton of, it's an acre of land and it's not that big of a house. I know it has the pool, but, so, maybe we can figure out.
We should look at that, because we just don't, we have a code that has a limit on how much you can build on your property. You're coming in here 50% over that number to start with. It's hard for us to grant you permission to go beyond that. 10%, 15%, we're usually, depending on where you live, sometimes more, but to add on to 50%, it's like ignoring our code. It's not something that we can really do. So I would really encourage you to look at your numbers again.
We didn't ignore it.
Oh, I'm sure you
I'm
did.
not accusing, I'm just.
No, I just,
yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing to think about, and I don't know how this would turn out, but the reason you've got trouble here is because you're adding a patio to what you already have. I mean, if you would still have to come in for a variance on the FAR if you enclose that porch.
Yes.
But that's 7% to 11%, and hard-hearted as these people appear, we have approved things like that. So it's the patio that really is the problem. And, you know, that's just sheer addition to the coverage you already have. And you may want to look at the porch and the proposed patio, decide, you know, which one you want to keep. I don't like giving advice like this, but I can see the look on their face, and I'm sort of trying to find a way out here.
When you said there's a porch here, which was existing, just.
No, I mean, the porch that you want to enclose,
Okay.
all right? If you took that out and put the patio in, would that serve your purpose in the backyard? If the numbers were about the same?
That I can't answer. This was enclosed though, just this sunroom was enclosed. But that's still part of the cover.
Yes,
Okay.
right. I'm just saying maybe the patio is more important to you than the sunroom.
That we'll have to talk to the owner.
Maybe, and maybe not. I don't know. Yeah. But, I'm not gonna be here in October, which may be a great relief to you, I don't know. But
You seem like the nice one tonight, I don't know, I want you here.
I don't really think adjourning this is gonna do you much good. I think we've got to deal with the application in the form it's in now. And my inclination is to move to deny it in the form it's in now. But if you want to look at numbers and alternatives and come back, that's your right. I wouldn't come back, you know, with a 2% decrease in the size of the patio or something like that. That will not sway anybody. But,
We don't have to start from scratch and go back to the planning board.
no, you don't. The planning board, I think the planning board said they approved it subject to you getting these two variances from us.
Yes, they did.
So unless something else has happened at the planning board, which you would know about and I don't think you have to go back there. Not because of what we're doing anyway.
Right.
So,
We satisfy what your board has to do with the coverage and for that stay here.
right.
Yeah, as long as planning board's done with you, yeah.
I have two questions if I could clarify. So we've got the two driveways on each side of the house. One is concrete, whatever you call that. The other side is gravel. Is that, I assume those are both considered coverage?
Those are both not considered coverage.
Not considered coverage at all?
Driveways are out. If it were a closed case and you had a driveway that was concrete and you were going to turn it into something like pebbles, that would be a plus for you. But in terms of the coverage numbers, they should not include either of the
That's not
driveways.
good, okay.
We did, that was everything labeled here, so we had
So did you include?
concrete drive, slate walk area, 1,742 square feet.
Yep.
We had the gravel area that we,
So did your numbers include that as part of the coverage?
yes.
Okay, well, so that might be part of the problem.
Yeah, I mean, if the driveway was counted towards coverage, it shouldn't have been.
Right.
But,
In the list of site structures and impervious areas, I don't think you include the driveway. And the items that you have here do in fact add up to the
I don't see it in here.
7594.
Let me show you something first and check.
Okay, but, so perhaps we,
You said two things, Reed.
Yes,
That
you
one
did.
Well,
question.
and the
Okay.
second thing was, so the two approvals, the bar and the bar, the sunroom and the patio. If we decided right now that we want to do the sunroom, is that it would be approved tonight, 7%, or is this considered one
Not if you're going to come back.
application that's,
I mean,
what's that?
not if you're going to come back.
okay.
We have to take what you're going to do as a whole. And if you just came in, my guess is if you just came in with the FAR request and dropped the patio, we could approve that. But if you're going to come back with the patio, we will not be receptive to that kind of staging request. Because what we like to do is see the entire application. You know, if you think about this, you might not enclose, I'm just making this up, you might not enclose the sunroom. You might make a smaller patio, you might rip out something that's concrete. You know, until we get a final set of what you want us to approve, it doesn't make a lot of sense to approve part and not the rest when it's gonna change anyway. That's my thinking.
And in fact, if we approved something and it came back, we probably would not look at that with great favor.
We've had people, I mean, you're very open about it, it's not like
Yeah.
that.
Right.
But there are some people who have come in with an application that takes them up 8%, and then we see them a year later with another application that adds 12 or
I see.
14%, and that makes our instincts go the wrong way.
Yeah, we didn't know if it made sense to try to bifurcate them, but it sounds like no.
So I think what I must do is make a motion to deny this application as it is presently stated. That's all we're dealing with. And you folks can pray over it and think about what you want to do. And if you want to come back, we'll be open to reasonable things. But these numbers, you know, they're just very high. And I'm just thinking about the next 11 applicants who come in. I don't know how I deal with their 5% increase problem.
I appreciate the chance to refigure what we have here, because I think we might have included some additional.
Okay, well, that would be good to know.
And just, I'm assuming mid-20s sounds like a
Or
palatable thing.
If you went,
If somehow we could figure out a way to
theoretically,
reduce it, that would be the more palatable number, it
if you
sounds
take
like.
the right side of the house off, and, you know,
yeah, we're already more.
and you,
I'm being theoretical.
theoretical,
Just
if
asking a
you
question.
went from 43% down to 20-something%, that normally is something we view favorably. Like these folks, when they put in the final application, they actually went down 3 or 4% rather than up. And that, we thought that was reasonable. So theoretically, that's a possibility.
Sounds good.
Okay.
You're our procedural expert, but are we better off denying this one or letting them just come back if they do so?
Okay,
I don't-
I just because I'm not going to be here in October, I sort of feel guilty about doing that, but I will, would you prefer that?
I guess what's the
What if-
difference of,
The two alternatives are, one, we just leave it pending, there's no decision, on the understanding that you know this is not going to get approved. But if you come back in, let me tell you the way it works, at least I think it works. If your application asks for a 4% increase on FAR and 15 or something like that on coverage, that's what everybody's been noticed on. If you were to come back in and drop the FAR request and trend the coverage request from what it is to about the same number as it is now, unless you're doing something that would radically affect the neighbors because they could see more or hear more or whatever, that would all be within the purview of your original application. It's a lesser included revision. So we could probably approve that without you having to file a new. Am I complicating this too much?
No, that's reasonable.
Okay.
But if you're going to change it substantially, then you might want to just start again.
Right, I guess, so we're just looking for guidance because we haven't done this before, but I think it's worth us revisiting the numbers just to see if we've calculated them properly, because the decision seems very much based on how much we're over, and if we're not over, then the application might be viewed differently, and our plan may not need to change, so.
So if we adjourned it and what you came back with next month was something less than this, in terms of the numbers.
Right.
You wouldn't have to renotice the neighbors, and you could just come back.
Okay,
But the chairman wouldn't be here.
He wouldn't be here.
It's another good thing.
There's,
right?
so,
Fearless leader.
so we have another board member who presumably would be here, so there would be 4 of us.
Yeah.
But you could just come back without having to renotice and refile.
It doesn't mean it's necessarily going to get approved.
Right, but at least you could come back and talk to us. If we deny it, then if you come back to us with anything else, you have to renotice the neighbors and refile with the building department. So that's more work.
Right.
And it's more of a delay. You probably wouldn't be back for October, you'd probably be looking at November.
unless you guys advise us that we shouldn't do it this way, it feels like we should go do our work and see whether or not we can just come back under the same application, and if we discover that we can't, we can always refile, right? If
We can always withdraw.
We can always withdraw and then refile with a new plan.
I
It
think that's-
feels like that.
I think that's well talked out.
Although we don't give advice.
Okay. Fair enough. I'm just looking for information. Yeah. All right, sounds like that's that makes the most sense.
Okay, so we will
Okay.
adjourn this then. Is that okay with everybody?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.